Welcome to Addicted to Busy, the podcast specifically for overachieving property managers who are dying for a little more work-life balance in their lives. Each week, we dismantle all the BS that holds us back. You'll learn how to nix those tricky, self-sabotaging habits so that you have the time, energy, and motivation to create what you really want in life. If you're looking to shift from overcommitted to overjoyed, this is the podcast for you. Let's do this. Now, your host, Anna Haviliana.
Hello and welcome back to Addicted to Busy. If you are watching the video version of this, you will see that I look like shit. Normally when I record a podcast, I like to put on a face of makeup, put on a nice shirt, just in case I ever want to use any clips for social media to connect with others. But today I'm in the thick of it, and I figured that this podcast is about work-life balance, and when you're struggling with it, there are days that it just doesn't look pretty. So as a follow-up to, I think this would have been 2 episodes ago, I just took on a new property at work. And when I say new, I mean new to me. This property is certainly not the newest property on the block. So it's an aging property that requires a lot of repairs and upkeep, which is different from the last property that I was at. So I knew it was going to be a challenge, and I am a few weeks in, and I was certainly right. This is definitely a challenging role, and I can feel it. I can feel burnout coming on. Um, I feel just pulled in a lot of different directions right now. I feel pulled by my residents because they do have things in their home that they need tended to. I feel pulled by my team because we're all learning some new processes and change is really uncomfortable. And I actually don't feel pulled by my family or my friends because they all know how much I really love doing hard work. But I will say that I do feel guilty because I don't have all of the time, energy, or capacity to be present for them. But I know that this challenge is going to be a true test of what I'm capable of, and that as I go through it, I am really going to grow as a leader. So, for as stressed as I feel, as I mentioned a few episodes ago, I have been prioritizing sleep. I wanted to give myself a singular focus so that I could really zone in on one healthy habit and hopefully make it stick. And I certainly haven't been perfect, but I will say that I've been much better about not having my cell phone in my bedroom because I can very, very easily turn into a scrolly-poly. And before you know it, it could be, gosh, any hour of the night or morning at some points. So instead of scrolling, I have been trying to either read, journal, or do a paint by numbers before I go to bed. I remember this sensation and this feeling from one of the other more difficult sites that I've managed. And because I've done some reflection on that time, and because I didn't just take that experience and shove it down and not think about it ever again, I was able to really recognize what some of my old patterns would have been. I'm starting to feel all of those old bad habits really want to creep back in, right? There is definitely a temptation to stay up late and watch TV or to overeat or overdrink to settle some of the just feelings of overwhelm that I'm experiencing. And definitely at the end of the day, I'm physically tired, I'm mentally tired, and there are times where I want to just stay inside and rest instead of going outside to get fresh air and get movement. I oftentimes feel this urge to scroll on Instagram instead of sitting down to read a book, meditate, or just try to go to sleep sooner. If you've heard me speak at a conference or if you've ever taken a course, you've heard me talk about the three non-negotiables. So I'm pretty sure I've talked about them on the podcast before, but for anyone who may be new, the three non-negotiables are basically the three things that you will do for yourself every single day without fail. When you create a non-negotiable, it needs to be a couple of things. First of all, it needs to be something that's solely for your benefit, an act of true self-care. And that doesn't mean be selfish. That doesn't mean that you won't care for others. In fact, it'll be easier to care for others as a byproduct of you taking care of yourself. The other thing about a non-negotiable is that it needs to be something that is so easy that you cannot fail. So for me, when I say that I will exercise or move my body every day, I do consider taking a 5-minute walk movement. When I talk about journaling or meditating, I would constitute journaling as writing down one sentence, if that's all that I have. From my experience, and this could be different for you, but from my experience, I've had too many cycles of boom and bust. Boom, where I'm all in on exercise all the time, and then I burn myself out to the point where I don't have any energy for a couple days. What's been impactful for me has been really focusing on consistency, trying to do something every day for the sake of just doing it every day, right? I want to create habits that are sustainable. And that includes hobbies, even if it's just for a little bit. One practice that has been so encouraging is literally just breathing. It sounds so silly, it sounds so dumb, but deep breathing consistently throughout the day has really helped me keep my cool in many situations. Every time that I go to use the bathroom, I am in there either pumping myself up to get back out there and keep trying, or sometimes just calming myself down if maybe I've had a difficult interaction with somebody. It's in those few minutes when I either go to use the restroom or when I'm heating up my lunch that I have a choice in what I do at that time. It's in those 2 to 3 minutes that I will remind myself and convince myself that all I need to do is just tackle the next task that I can. I encourage myself to keep smiling, even if I just got screamed at. I remind myself to be patient as I'm teaching new processes. And more than not, I have to remind myself to really love my residents, even when they're upset and even when they're mad. And I'm thankful that I learned these practices when I was in a calm period at work. I can tell you from some of my past experiences with burnout, it wouldn't be uncommon that someone would tell me to just breathe or just take a break or go do something fun. But at that point, I was already, too far gone to receive that feedback or to receive that suggestion. So I really had to learn how to engage in these practices before burnout came into play. It can be helpful to focus on it when you're in the slower periods of the season. It's just like how athletes practice for a game. They will do drills, do strength and conditioning, run plays over and over and over again until it's actually game day. And that's kind of how I've approached, forming some of these new habits that I didn't have before. Truth be told, the time that my burnout was the worst, simply put, had some of the worst self-care habits that you can think of. Some of them I don't even really want to share because, they make me sad now to think that that was how I cared for myself. It even kind of embarrasses me to admit some of the ways in which I was caring for myself or not caring for myself in that case. And what I love most about learning these new habits and wrestling with them as I tried to get them to stick was that so much of what I learned was all information and resources that I could get for free. As I've worked with people in the past, I have heard people say that they don't have the funds or they don't have the resources to take care of themselves. And I disagree. I think that you can find resources. They're just going to be different than the paid versions. As I work with clients, I will oftentimes come upon either an excuse or a limiting belief that prevents people from really taking good care of themselves. And one of the ones that I hear most frequently is that people don't have the money for this. But this is exactly what I'm getting at, is that none of these practices are anything that is, inaccessible, right? It would be great if we could all afford, the $250 lifetime membership so that you can have access to every piece of fitness equipment and a pickleball court and a pool or whatever it is, right? That would be nice. But going for a walk, completely free, right? Doing squats in your living room, also completely free. I've done a lot of reading on burnout, habits, psychology, you name it, and I learned a lot about behavior change and I've learned a lot about leadership. And all of those books I got for free from the library. And I think you'd actually be surprised to see just how many resources your local library has. One of my favorite tools or skills that I've learned these last few years has been meditation. I have always been a pretty intense person, especially as it pertained to exercise. I loved CrossFit, I loved to run marathons, and I never thought that I would become somebody who meditates, but it has truly been life-changing. And again, this is something that I learned to do for free with guided meditations on YouTube and then also books from the library. Overcoming burnout, it's not a luxury. It's not something that's only reserved for people who can afford coaches, therapists, gym memberships, massages, you name it. There are so many resources around you. You might just have to dig a little harder to find them. Also very blessed because I really believe in this team that I'm working with. The more I get to know everyone, the more I can tell that we all have areas where we need to grow and where we need to get to know each other so that we can work better as a team. But I'm so lucky because everyone has shown up with a positive attitude and a drive and a commitment to try and do better every day, right? So I have a great team. I also just work for a very good company. I have the support that I need to do a good job here, right? As an example, here in Minnesota, it is CRP time. So all of our properties are hard at work getting our residents' tax forms out to them before the January 31st deadline. Now, the process for filing changed. And because of that, our accounting team really had to do the hard work of making sense of the new process and then figuring out a way to roll it out to our whole region, which is absolutely no small feat. But I am so thankful that our company has an accounting team who can handle that for us and take it off of the site level, right? And behind the scenes, as accounting was working on that, all of our sister sites were helping each other out, right? One of my colleagues was kind enough to quickly hop online and do a screen share to share a process that saved our team a ton of time. So, for as much as I feel overwhelmed right now, it's not awful because I know that I have the support that I need. I know that I have great people in place, and I'm excited to be in a place where I get to serve others and hopefully make a difference. It's really going to be a great year. It's going to be a fun year, so long as I take care of myself. Like I said, I've been through burnout before, and hopefully I've done as much as I can to learn from what I experienced the first couple times. And I'm committed to doing it a little bit better this time because I want to show that while this industry is extremely challenging, it is also highly rewarding and deeply fulfilling. Now, since it's getting close to my bedtime, and as I've mentioned before, sleep is important, this is where I am going to end this episode. So, if this episode resonated with you, if you feel like you are finding yourself in a state of burnout, take great care of yourself, right? Even the tiny things like taking deep, full belly breaths in the bathroom, or grabbing a quick 5-minute walk around the building, or literally just eating one fruit a day. those tiny things can make a world of a difference in the way that you feel. And to those of you who aren't in a state of burnout and you feel just fine, keep practicing taking great care of yourself so that you will be ready for those days when everything hits the fan, because you know that that day is going to come at some point. Anyways, my friends, until next time, I love you. Keep going.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Addicted to Busy. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. This helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.